Welcome back to the Overwatch League here, Summer Stage East. It is the final day of the week and the final match as well. We got a good one, Guangzhou versus Shanghai. And it's a special one as well because Shanghai, if they win today, it will be their 100th win as a franchise since the start of the Overwatch League. They had a chance to maybe get that yesterday, but unfortunately, they didn't win.
Oh, they got a chance to get that a year ago, Avril, but unfortunately 42 losses in a row does somewhat stymie your chance of making it into that club early.
And had to remind them.
Yep, I have to let it be known. Guangzhou Charge, of course, here's their roster. Newly tooled, but somewhat old head as well. The Chengdu Hunters live on strongly in this roster, as well as having been somewhat revived on the Hangzhou.
If you close your eyes, it is the Chengdu Hunters.
It's almost like Chengdu Hunters didn't die. They actually just had two Horcruxes in our Joe teams.
Yeah, they've been resurrected in a completely new team. I mean, the only thing, I think there was a fun fact that obviously every member of this team has been on the Chengdu Hunters. And I think at the same time as well, but they didn't start at the same time. So for example, you never saw Jinmu and Jimmy play at the same time because in 2021, when they were all on the same team, Lee that was his MVP year. He was never going to get subbed out. And well, really, when Lee is playing, he's never going to get subbed out no matter what team he's on. So yeah, Jimmy and Jinmu, finally they get to play together on the same team at the same time, and these five get to start at the same time. Now for the Shanghai Dragons, the opponents today, these two teams are in a precarious situation like they because they're both on the lower end of the standings, and well, Kotif's pretty tight going into the knockouts.
Oh yeah, it's going to be real tight going into the knockouts, but hey, if there's anyone who can rescue Shanghai Dragons, it might well be Fate, who somewhat rescued their season thus far. They are no longer what one might describe as woeful. They are now a serious competitor in this space, and I think that Viper's certainly coming into his own as well. Having a coach behind you like Fleda, who's got that prestige kind of experience on DPS, is great for a rookie like Viper coming into such a high-pressure environment, but Fate has definitely turned this team around considerably, and you'd almost wonder why he got dropped at all in the first place.
Well, let's take a look at the stats. Questions, really. I don't know. Well, Gaga's also been out of the mix for a while. The difference is Fate actually did play contenders on Panthera at the early stages of the year before he shifted over to the Shanghai Dragons once more. And well, these are the stats so far just for the summer games, of which, you know, Gaga and the rest of the Charge have struggled a little. I will note, though, that Piggy did play at the beginning of the summer stage, so Gaga came in, I think, at least after one match had already been played. But overall,
yeah, I think like
Fate stats are not too bad.
True, like Fate getting some good stuff in here, plenty of eliminations, and of course those final blows super important. The minimizing of deaths as well is sometimes more of a testament to the support line for the Winston, because they're often having to tank a bunch of those solo EMPs, and it's coming down to the Ana's reaction time, putting that nano in as more of a reactionary measure rather than a proactive space-taking measure, where the meta kind of started, but as Sombra's evolved their tactics, Ana's in turn had to try and figure out how to get the most value out of their ultimates. But look at our map set. We're going to be going over to Busan first. I wouldn't expect much more than just standard out of these teams, but Guangzhou, they do like a little bit of Hanzo. Jimmy's real good at that.
I don't know if they'll be having any good maps to play it on. Maybe Dorado or Midtown. No, I'm not really seeing it. It's difficult because the problem is, you know, I guess Jinmu could also go towards the Tracer. But I feel like the current iteration of Guangzhou Charge, they are the team that are trying to build themselves up as a legitimate Tracer Sombra competitor. So should be the focus here.
You know, on Midtown, we did see Guangzhou get absolutely decimated by the Dallas Fuel. And that did actually involve on the defense, Jinmu bringing out an unpocketed Pharaoh, but I think that might be a slightly corrupted data set by the hopelessness of the scenario in which they found themselves after being completely unsuccessful on their attack.
He did actually beat Sparkle in a 1v1.
True, he did beat Sparkle's Echo in a 1 versus 1, and hey, if that's the win you take away from that map, then more power to you, my guy.
You gotta take the small wins when you can when you unfortunately get full held by the Dallas Fuel. Alright, so no surprises on board here. Everyone playing what we expect, minus the Xerneas Zenyatta coming on through. Now, Xerneas does like to pop over towards the end, but typically when he plays Zen, it's like on the 3rd point C defense, because he can put his back against the wall. Here, it's a huge risk. I mean, super greedy backline. Hisu, Viper, Tracer, Sombra, they're just gonna, I think, melt the backline of the Charge.
Yeah, most diveable monk in history right here. The anti comes in just the right time, and while it is a messy cleaner, it's going to be a fast backline trade here for the Guangzhou Charge, taking out both Gangnam Jin and Iris. And Jimmy's starting clean today. You remember Shanghai Dragons? They always start pretty slow. They've never won an opening control map in the summer stage.
And Jimmy is, you know, had to really practice the Tracer to get up to speed. Losing Choi means you have major Tracer holding the team, which Jimmy has to fill at this stage. As I said earlier, losing Gaga is a bit of a problem. Otherwise, Gangnam Jin and Aris down was a pretty open situation for the Charge to take advantage of. Be Fate in trouble now, hacked out, half HP.
It's going to be quickly attended to, though, by Iris, and now the anti as well forces Fate to leave that point, and now Gaga can try and get a huge amount of point presence here and maybe flip it back over, but elsewhere, focus was taken over onto that main battle, and it's allowed for openings that have been exploited consistently by Hisu. Time for the first one to go the way of the Shanghai Dragons, and everyone else to be staggered out.
Well, this is where Charge, unfortunately, they can't quite get the same level of trades that the Dragons do have. By the way, Hisu, ton of damage already onto the EMP. Seems like it took a while for the cap to come on through. We got, like, you know, over a minute of back and forth there between the two teams getting plays down. Well, Dragons finally capped, and it felt like Dragons had kind of slowly winning the fight anyway, but just couldn't quite capitalize. So, EMP time in the back. Double supports caught.
Also caught by the Bardic Grenade, though. Farway just gets so much healing here with both the cookies and, of course, the Inspire. Feeling unmitigated. And think about how far in that EMP was. There was no chance for a Bardic Grenade to try and make sure no healing could be found. Shanghai Dragons tried to up the tempo, but they just shot themselves in the foot instead.
That's the problem with a map like this, playing Dive, and obviously Dive is the current meta, but hard to get the rest of your team in on that consolidation when you put the EMP down. Xerneas also eventually did swap over towards the Brig. Yeah, I mean, I think that was going to be obvious why he plays down on this map. Now he's going to be a little bit behind on the rally. Charge, though, having a big stack. I mean, they got 4 ultimates, nearly 5. They're pretty good. Jinmu's time now to play through the EMP. No targets. They have to do something about the Dragons on the high ground before they can really get much else done. Maybe pressure a little bit of the point. That's what Gaga's doing currently.
Oh, Viper managed to find Jimmy. You consider the hack assist there as well. Hisu and Viper going for the unfair 2 versus 1 after Jinmu had to back off to actually replace his translocator, which is getting consistently hunted down here. Taken out of stealth as well, but should be going back into the loving arms of Farway. Now Guangzhou have reached critical mass. 5 ultimates.
With no cap, so they're significantly behind. This is not a good position to be in. You're losing and you have 5 ultimates, means you haven't had a chance to use anything. It's a super bad place to be. Here we go, first ult finally being used by the Charge. The Shanghai Dragons, by the way, are slowly catching up. They're rapidly catching up, I actually should say, because they got the 4 ults online as well. Nano onto Gangnam Jin, Jimmy down. Charge just can't get any kills.
Rally and Nano coming back in now. Oh, the Nano has been delivered. Where is the EMP? Where is Jinmu? I'm asking for a location. Like they wish to know your location. I wish to know where Viper's going as well. A quick recall to get back into that. Hisu's been slept elsewhere. The peel came through, but a touch too late as Fate needs to go back to the Ana and receive some healing. Jimmy goes into a 4 versus 1 inadvertently, and he's simply broken down under the auspices of multiple weapons. And now Fate demands the attention of Xerneas, moves over onto Farway. The pocket is strong onto Gaga, but you just cannot beat out the amount of damage that Shanghai Dragons have on the point. Jimmy won't be able to do too much here. No one can even touch Avril.
Everyone's basically dead. I mean, Gaga's dead. Jimmy maybe could have gone for it. Jimmy's 1 HP. I think Charge were just significantly behind. I mean, you're looking at 70% for the Shanghai Dragons, 5 ults online for the Charge. No trigger pull, no initiation. I mean, at the point where Charge are about to get 5 ultimates, I think we rewinded back a little bit further. Xerneas is on about 80, 90. He's nearly on the ultimate for the rally, and he's behind, by the way, because he had a late swap onto the Brig. By that time, Charge should have already initiated some sort of EMP play, and they just didn't. We waited a whole round for a single EMP that did not result in a fight win. So, very disappointing beginning there for the Charge as we now move into round 2.
Rollout takes, of course, coming through from both Viper and Jimmy. Not going to be staying on those, but Guangzhou Charge, they are somewhat concerning me with their pace. Having those 5 ultimates, not being able to turn it into a 1 fight at the same time. Not ideal. Jinmu, of course, has the advantage here with the hacked pack, so he won't be able to stay here and fight for long. Plenty of support coming through, though, from the Ana, which is going to allow him to force out that Sombra.
Oh, yeah, Jinmu had to be the one to translocate away, so that's a bit of a negative for Jinmu. Still holds the slight lead and edge on the EMP. Just by a margin. Also looking out for, as you mentioned, the Ana players here. Eris ahead of Farway by a reasonable margin here. Shanghai Dragons will receive their first hack, but it looks like Viper should survive this.
Oh, actually had some issues in the first fight of the last map as well, actually pumping out the healing. Only got about 500 healing in the first fight, even without dying. Gaga taken down. Evidently was cut off once again from far away. The backline distractions of Shanghai Dragons have just left Guangzhou Charge scatterbrained and scattered to the 4 wins as fate just sends them reeling. Cap comes through.
It's another early lead for the Shanghai Dragons. We're talking about the fact that they haven't won a single control map so far in this stage, and they're looking primed to get that first win now up against the Guangzhou Charge. See if they can snowball this one forward. They still need further ultimate leads to snowball this one up. That's a great pick, and Jinmu was close to ult as well. That means Hisu can catch up.
Jinmu was coming behind them as well. Look at where Fate was actually jumping out from. Farway was actually far too concerned instead with killing the enemy Sombra. And it feels like consistently Farway's letting these players fall through the cracks. I don't know if it's a comms issue, of course. Guangzhou Charge, Gaga and Jinmu, newer additions to this roster, even if longtime friends of the members here.
Now it's going to be Hisu's turn to go for the EMP first. Jinmu significantly further behind due to the death. Just trying to pressure the point away, but I think the back line of the Charge are going to be exposed here. Or are they just going to go for the front instead? Jimmy and Gaga reasonably exposed also to Hisu. That's the big question though. Where does Hisu want to go? Because it's up to him.
EMPs noted for both teams, straight on top of Gangnam Jin. It's a cleanly executed dive. Hisu tries to turn it around. Indeed, removing the tank is huge. And with still the healing of Iris available, and the nano boost as well. Viper is the chosen one. And Xerneas doesn't have a shield somehow to block the incoming damage from the pulse ball. A massive fumble from the rally. And this could be all that Shanghai Dragons need to get a huge advantage coming into last fight where only a nano's on the table.
Oh, nanos weren't used, and that was part of the issue. We saw the EMPs drop down, and the players that got taken down by the EMPs were not nanoed. I think with Xerneas going down, as you said, with the rally in tow, I'm not too sure what happened to Fireway there. Possibly expected Xerneas to live, but Nano held on. They're going to have to use that now in the final fight. It's all they have to work through. Shanghai Dragons 5% away from getting their first control win for the summer stage. It's looking damn good. As long as they can get past Gaga, get past the Nano, get past the Primal.
Textbook defense against the Nano Winston. The rally in combination with Bardic Grenade to give over even more. It's a huge old nade, and this one looks done and dusted. Shanghai Dragons are sick of losing on first, and they have come out burning fuel. Now we're moving with Diesel.
Guangzhou Charge, they need to re-energize here a little bit. They need to get charged up because that early beginning, it seems sloppy, it seems slow. You know, I think pacing here is the major issue that I'm identifying. Specifically, look on mecha base. Inability to try and get a fight underway. Losing time, losing cap to Shanghai Dragons while they're holding on to ults and not able to find situations where the EMP in particular, but other ultimates as well, can reliably be dropped in. So, work to be done here. For the Shanghai Dragons, they got past one of the hurdles so far this stage in terms of getting their first control win. Again, they're still looking for their first 100 wins as a franchise. If they can beat the Charge, they'll get that. Find out on this break. Welcome back to the Overwatch League here. One map done, and it was a quick one. Shanghai Dragons tucked that one into bed. As the Guangzhou Charge, they need to wake up a little bit because that was not a good start. And this team is, I believe, what are they, 1-4 in the standings, dude? They've only beaten O2 Blast, and that's it.
Yeah, they beat O2 Blast in their first matchup, where O2 Blast had been picked clean by the vultures of OWL teams and had essentially just cobbled together a roster in a cave from a box of scraps. So for Guangzhou Charge, it's not been a glorious second half to their season. Still, there is room to improve. We know for a fact that these players have what it takes to be a cohesive and powerful unit. We've seen them excel on teams like the Chengdu Hunters, and in Jimmy's case earlier this year, was doing incredibly well on the alternative picks like the Hanzo. And that brought Guangzhou Charge into a position where we expected them to make it to Mid-Season Madness, but unfortunately it feels like the Mid-Season Madness knockout stage kind of boomed them, then the team spiraled from there.
The meta changes, things move along, and while you can be like off on a Panthera and still play a reasonable amount of Hanzo, but you certainly can't just force it through the way you're used to if you are looking at the Guangzhou Charge. That being said, though, I think they could maybe afford to try it out a little bit more. This is also a team that is trying their best to find themselves in a comfortable place in the Tracer, Sombra, Winston dive, but yeah, it didn't look too comfortable in Busan, sadly. Let's see if it is any better on Midtown instead.
Hopefully so. Last foray, last Caesura to Midtown for Guangzhou Charge was not pretty. Let's put it that way. Up against Medallos Fuel, got full held. We did see Jinmu get the small victory of taking the unpocketed duel against Sparkle on the Echo. And let me tell you, Vamu still has it on the Pharah. I'd love to see Guangzhou lean into that. We have seen some teams just lean into their own identities. O2 Blast in particular with Protect loving to play the Ram have got a little bit of utility out of moving into that. Maybe Guangzhou Charge could find a similar little bit of that experimentational success.
Probably be on the ball, if anything. Probably be on the fire, if anything. You think about the specific strengths of the Guangzhou Charge in terms of where their players are good.
They play
see the Jimmy Fire here versus the Dallas Fuel, but you know the rest of the map wasn't good. That one isolated part of the Fire 1v1 duel versus Sparkle was pretty actually damn good. He beat Sparkle in that duel, and well, Echo is favored in that matchup. Goes to show that Jimmu's mastering the Fire is still as good as ever. On the first defense, Guangzhou Charge playing standard. Probably as you'd expect, Shanghai not changing a beat either, so we need to see a lot more initiative generally out of the Charge. Lining up those heals between Farway and Gaga as well. Gaga had a lot of hits on that one.
Yeah, one of the problems here, though, is that Winston initiative can't really go over the train car very easily. The geography, not great for the Winston, instead trying to set up the crossfires. As he actually manages to force out Jimmy in the 1v1 in the neutral duel of the Sombra versus Tracer. It shouldn't be Jimmy who's actually backing off first.
Down, Jimmu could hack with the, or maybe he got a hack, but he certainly got the damage done. There was an anti-nade thrown in. Great connection by Farway. Fake down, it's an instant reset. Jimmy now just trying to find Hisu, but Hisu is all the way onto B. Clean sights onto Farway. Doesn't reveal his position yet. Waiting for a possible dive. Needs to get Viper into this if he can. That will be a nice quick kill onto Farway.
Farway now under siege. Uses Bardic Grenade. That's going to force Hisu up, but Hisu actually hasn't gone that far. Actually, have a Translocator set up above him, and you can see that Farway once again is under duress. Still Viper elsewhere. Without the pressure coming through from Hisu in the main battlefield, you can get so much more room for Gaga to just take part in these duels. Oh my goodness. Iris has been identified. The siege has begun. Gaga not put to sleep for too long here, as Jimmy's just going to play around on the stairway and make a quick exit. Farway must have got to sleep there or something.
Really good picks from Guangzhou. It's 3-0 in picks so far, and the Shanghai Dragons haven't really been able to get on the scoreboard at all. That allows Charge to be ahead in all regards in terms of ultimates. First nano online, Jimmu's low, but Jimmy's going to receive, and he'll go straight directly to Viper's face. Doesn't matter that they'll lose Jimmu at this stage. They're getting all the frags necessary. 2 is enough. 2 should be enough. Extra Primal did get played. I'm not too sure if that was required by Gaga. Whether he felt he was going to be too low, but 2 ultimates, no, 3 actually spent in that last fight.
Yeah, I'd say the Primal was heavily unnecessary, but what I will say is that while I do have economic concerns for Guangzhou Charge, I'm much preferring the tempo they're playing with at the moment. Definitely bringing it to Shanghai Dragons, actually getting to play their own game. That's a big EMP onto Fate. He's just evaporated. Viper must have stolen the nano. He must have just blinked in the way of it, because you can see that Iris actually responded to the EMP to try and save Fate, but Little bit of a devious lick from Viper.
To say he snaked it away.
Yeah, he stuck out his forked tongue. Spit some venom into the back of his team.
Unfortunately, that's going to be a nano gone now. One ultimate down. That actually makes Charge's lack of ultimates here and their slight poor economy slightly more bearable. Nano is a pretty big ticket ultimate on the Shanghai Dragons. The other four are still decent. Here comes the EMP directly to Jimmy. It's going to be solo, but it's going to be enough. Rally will get popped in response, but not enough to save Jimmy. Too low HP. Still playable, though. Dragons are going to go slowly here. They could maybe afford to go a little bit more aggressive. They have their own rally. Still saving it.
Still not as strong as well. Remember, Jinmu won't take too long to come on back. Jinmu forced to move away. Over to relative safety, but with a tick still to go. Doesn't look like it's going to be a big contest here from Guangzhou Charge. Jimmy can't make it work. Of course, with no tank, they might well have just been feeding in. Shanghai Dragons now, though, have their own feeding, a buffet aligned before them, and they wish to eat. But it seems like it's Hisu who's going to be feeding the fishes.
Fate will hold on to the primal there, so Dragons opt into reset. Just going to push the fire truck into the first opening choke of B and leave it there, and shouldn't get spawn camped here at all. I don't think Charge have the firepower to do that. But winning an early fight on B for Charge means they can play with all of the positioning in the early stage. This is a deadly area for the attacking side, so you're definitely going to need to see Eris pump this nano up quickly. Get the Shanghai Dragons moving forward. Jimmu about to hit that EMP as well.
It's one of the areas where we've seen time banks wither and die under the terrible pressure that Midtown B can bring, along with that safety for the Ana. Viper desperately wants to try and force out Jimmy from his area behind the cop car, but unfortunately Jimmy hanging on tight for now. Jimmy's going to do a
Payload's moving though.
Yeah, Payload do be moving. Oh, Fate manages to escape that EMP. Maybe ill-considered there from Jinmu. It's a free escape. Well, he does pay the Primal Rage. Vananu coming in now. Shanghai Dragons control of the tempo, but they're actually
still not contesting.
Targets.
Finally, I mean, you need to see this happen earlier. Jimmy, it's really his job, but it's going to be the supports from the Charge finally moving in payload. So no matter what happens, even if Dragons lose the fight, they got the necessary distance. That's the most important thing. Charge caught napping there. Gaga down, no primal. I think that was the time you wanted to primal. Now you have to be forcing a reset. Dragons completely take control of B positioning. Charge have to fall back, waiting for Gaga. And now Dragons sit on a wealth of ultimates. EMP nano that's plenty to cap with.
Those supports dropping down had long-reaching consequences. Fate actually gets booped away and attempts to try and keep Gaga at bay, but 1,000 of those HPs instantly ripped away, or at least 40% of them via the EMP. Many kept at bay. 202 centimeters stand between Shanghai Dragons and a cap right here, but Guangzhou Charge just roll onto the point. It is a brilliant blue, but it's a bloom of red river that will run for Shanghai Dragons. Guangzhou Charge decimated.
240 still left. Enough time to finish here. Shanghai Dragons into that fight with, what, 3 to 4 ultimates. Spent all of them. It's all well worth it. And Charge, yeah, pretty lackluster defense so far. Some reasonable slowdown. A couple of fights they did win, but you can see some real convincing fight wins here. You can see them really force Shanghai Dragons back in a full reset. And I guess the kill into Fate a little bit earlier on for the start of B was one of the decent situations, but you need a little bit more than that.
Finally found it. Jinmu put on notice, but B support is strong. Don't allow the Sombra to fall. Does realize that he's actually taken this territory away. And now Gaga's taking a considerable amount of damage. Farway has to react using the nano. Later on, that might have consequences when Hisu gets the EMP up, but Jinmu's got his own. Ready and waiting, gets both supports. Gangnam Jin decimated, murdered, mullered. And Eris will be able to just dash away for now.
No follow-up, unfortunately. Jimmy tied up in a 1v1 against Viper at that stage. Guangzhou Charge will at least get something for the EMP. They wish they got a little bit more of the nano as well. Gaga, unfortunately, doesn't end up diving forward. He dives backwards to try and peel away Fate from the rest of his own support line. There's no danger for Fate. He's got a primal ready to go. And now Shanghai Dragons, the rest of their team's ready to go. They got the key ultimates up in nano, EMP, payload, reasonable distance. Might not be capable in one attempt, but they can slowly edge this one forward, and then as the payload rounds the corner, play through the big EMP. They already got Gaga down though, so this is going poorly for Charge. Fate and might have been slept or hacked there. Could have primal.
Yeah, no primal, no nano, no saving. Now 2 teams without any tanks. Hisu must ask, do I want to invest the EMP without my Winston to try and keep this up? Remember, Gaga will be respawning much more quickly than Fate. There's a much easier path out here into a safer position where it can be pocketed by Valhalla.
That's rough for Fate. That could have been Dragons capping through the map with time to spare as well. Gaga's going to try and escape here. Far away, so close to the Nano. Might not need it. Brilliant pocket healing onto Gaga. Now the Primal should be available. Primal being used by Fate. Isu's EMP expended and survived. Far away trying to outduel Eris in the back line. Eris still holding on to a pretty big important ultimate for Dragons. It's got to be last fight. He's got to spend it.
Nano must be used to Eris. So low, doesn't wish to use it yet. The pocket strong from Gangnam Jin. Eris with the nerves of steel. But is the steel enough to try and bring this towards the end? Maybe looking for Fate to have a good jump onto someone who's a little bit more vulnerable. That's a good block from Gaga. Make sure that the Vada grenade will not be able to find its man. 2 ultimates now for the Shanghai Dragons. A pair of bombs given by both Jimmy and Viper. But Viper doesn't get anything. Jimmy towards the back. It's a stick coming in, but it won't connect for EMP from Jinmu. Finally, it's going to be the nano boost used. And when it was at its most necessary to keep Fate alive, Hell's Heart might stab at thee, but he wore his anti-Hell Kevlar. And now, getting onto the point, it's difficult for Gaga. The anti is brutal. And Viper's even more so. The Venom plunged into the veins of the Winston. And the EMP says that propaganda and your defense are both useless. It's an overtime cap for Shanghai.
It's a dangerous situation. Jinmu's EMP could have ended the Shanghai Dragons OT push there, but unfortunately it wasn't going to be enough for the charge. And eventually the Nano onto Fate is going to push through the Shanghai Dragons to a victory. Kill onto Jinmu to get that moving forward as well. Ultimately a pretty good push overall for the Shanghai Dragons. Some good moments from Eris that we saw both on map number 1, map number 2 here. Generally speaking, the backline has been pretty safe. Both backlines actually low deaths. 1 death apiece for Faraway Xerneas, 2 on Gangnam Jin, 1 on Eris. It's been very low deaths for all the supports. It's been mainly the DPS and tanks going down in these fights.
Yeah, huge amount of repositioning we saw. Farway and Xerneas in particular being forced off of that high ground on Midtown B in the underpass. Had the long-reaching effects of Gaga thinking he might be able to get healing up on that bridge. Doesn't pop the primal. And I think that that's the moment where Guangzhou Charge lose control of the flow of the game for point B and start really losing control of Midtown as a map. Now they're on their attack. This might get a little bit more complicated, as of course Hisu's going to be able to have that defensive Sombra advantage to be able to hunt down and scout those easy positions.
Going to be looking at a very low time bank situation for the next phase if the cap does come on through. Obviously Shanghai's only capped an OT. And if the Charge, if they're going to finish at all, I would suspect they could only probably do it an OT as well. It's been pretty rough going for this Charge team so far in the summer stage.
Real left star, Jimmy. Put on notice for a second, yes, and decloaks Hisu just with a little bit of lucky spy checking, but hey, you miss every shot but you don't take. Jinmu looking for a 2 versus 1 maybe. Just get Viper out of his little nest over there. And then rear up his head instead. That's a messy disengagement from Gaga, and you bet that he's going to be punished. Eris doesn't let you get past those, mate. Don't care how much of a prestige player you are. No one gets that one for free.
So first reset coming on in. At least Farway's got good healing. Doesn't mean you could see a timing for the Nano here. Hisu's got plenty of damage in, and that for Shanghai means it's going to be rough for Charge on their next approach no matter what happens. Is there a way that Charge can maybe get a kill here? They did have a hack on Viper, but Viper managed to get out of that. Irony from Eris somehow misses, but Farway won't miss on a fake.
Oh, EMP from Hisu catches multiple members. It feels like Guangzhou Charge were unprepared to deal with that. Still, it does mean they now have the Nano in reserve. A quick wipe, but time hasn't been going away too quickly. Only 1 minute and 20 thus far have passed.
It's a full wipe as well, so it's a full reset. The Shanghai Dragons got a lot of extra ultimates. You can see the rest of the members here, nearly 4 ultimates for the rest of the players. And as mentioned earlier, Hisu had a really nice advantage over Jinmu. By the time the EMP came through from Hisu, Jinmu was what, 59%, so I think for the Charge, who were, as you mentioned, unprepared to face the EMP, just didn't expect it to come through so early. Now they have other things that they can use. Jinmu is the one player that's lagging here. I think you need to see the EMP come through on this next push ideally, but it's still 20% away.
being forced out from so many of these doors. You can see that Viper's just hounding Jinmu. Instead, Vanano's going to go the way of Gaga. Desperately wishing to try and catch up towards this Predator. In goes the Pulse Bomb as well. Everything's being thrown at this backline, including the kitchen sink. But you better believe that they've got resistance to the kitchen sink, so it isn't very effective. Gaga, in the meanwhile, look at all those assists. Everybody wants this Winston dead, and everybody's going to be happy if the mob rules. The guillotining is complete. A big old stick onto Farway. I think this one's dead in the water.
And the problem there for the Chargers, unfortunately, their dive is somewhat mistimed. Jinmu has to translocate away. He's trying to farm the EMP. He's on 1 HP. He leaves. Gaga goes in with a nano. Some follow-up by Jimmy. Unfortunately, misses the pulse bomb, but both the supports of Gangnam Jin and Eris, they have ultimates, and Eris even held on to the nano. Didn't feel the need to use it, but an early pick on the Hisu could provide an opening finally for the Charge. Can actually do something with this. Onto the back line again. Still a nano in play, which you can put onto Fate and delay the point for a long time.
Gaga's got his own. Jinmu getting an opening onto Viper. That's
2 kills now.
From the Shanghai Dragons down. Hisu will be
Hisu's back,
soon,
but
though.
Hisu is here, but it's been 1 kill apiece. The Charge have been able to get these picks.
Jimmy. Oh, there needs to be some help here for Xerneas. He cannot be allowed to die with the rally, and yes, the healing is there, but what's slipped through the cracks in the meanwhile? Gaga elsewhere with the Primal Rage. Like, this is bringing up the support of the Shanghai Dragons and keeping them from healing up Fate, and it seems that in the end, it's going to have the good consequences for Guangzhou Charge. Desperately delivered with 30 seconds left, and this should be a cap.
Yeah, will be a cap indeed. Yeah, that's 2 picks in a row. That Charge get no response. Hisu into Viper. Hisu returns, but still a 4v5. I guess that's what it really takes for Charge to finally do get that cap. Struggle streak for the Charge on A. Got full held by Dallas, wouldn't want to get full held by Shanghai straight afterwards, so trying to redeem themselves on Midtown a little. Still got some decent ultimates to play through a Snowball B, and that's important because you don't want to get held here. We talked about the early stage of B being pretty rough. Gaga being anti-hit is a problem. That means you can't receive the nano.
Big problem.
Yep.
Huge problem. I would have loved to
have
have seen Guangzhou Charge like invest quite a bit in this fight here just to get the momentum. Maybe Viper looking for a cute stick there onto Farway, and that's going to be a pause. Excuse me, admin, Viper's bullying me. Please ban him.
That's the Hisu ping problem again. It might not be, but I assume it is because Shanghai yesterday they were the ones delivering the pauses. That's a rough way for Charge to kind of fail the snowball there. What a good nade though. Just enough time for Gaga to be drilled down. Otherwise, I think Farway could get the save with the nano. And with an extra nano coming through to Gaga, Charge can really get some real work done there with then the EMP to follow through. Push the Shanghai Dragons out of the early stage of the B, start the payload in the underpass, and off you go to potentially capture B. But Charge now basically fully reset. They're losing both Gaga and then Farway to a pulse bomb later.
Yeah, obviously not the real reason for the pause, but very nice to let Guangzhou Charge just steep in the Herculean task that stands before them. Wherever they dare to enter this crucible of pain, there will be someone waiting for them. The rafters above, the Winstons love to hang out there. There's so much room for a Tracer to work nicely. And think about the safety of those supports. We're getting back in real quickly. It's going to be so difficult to access Gangnam Jin and Eris, providing they play up on the bridge, which of course they will. It's elementary for supports.
It's more dangerous given what's worse for Charge given that Jinmu had to back out there, so he's got no setup. Trying to now get to the back. Nearly thought about the EMP there. He had Viper at his sights, but didn't end up going for that one. Maybe for the best. Would like to target supports instead. Hisu gets away on just 1 HP. Focusing on the payload now is not too bad. There's the EMP. Comes down onto 2 members. Fate's still alive, though. He's below half HP, but they just can't quite get him. He's about to get the primal as well, so it's usually problematic for the Charge. And beyond that, all the healing now given over to Eris to build this nano as well.
Great reaction from Fate the second he saw that EMP being channeled. He takes to the cerulean skies. And Jimmy, slain by Eris, must well have been a good sleep there. 2 versus 1. Gaga might overplay his hand here, but there is still the insurance policy of a nano boost.
Charge have lost their advantage at this point because they started off with the potential snowball opportunity for B, and they've really lost that now. Dragons haven't had to spend, and that's the beauty of when you're winning on defense so cleanly. You're not even having to use ultimates. You're now sitting on the full stack. EMP dropped on top of Gaga. The nano went over to Xerneas, and so the Charge end up not saving their tank player, but Xerneas will at least be able to use the nano to kill 1 player. It's not going to do too much, sadly, for the Charge offensive efforts.
Yeah, great target modulation there from Shanghai Dragons. Seeing that the saving efforts were going on to Xerneas, they about turn, and Gaga catches so much of that smoke. Viper missing with the pulse bomb. Might create a small amount of opening, but Fate just bisecting with Guangzhou Charge. Too much damage, the back's on out, but things start to slip through the cracks when you're taking this much damage from a primal. Jinmu's the one to fall. And while Xerneas doesn't have a rally to play with, yeah, time's a huge issue.
I mean, payload's still on the attacking side. Like, it hasn't even gone to the underpass yet. It's not even inside the defender spawn. So Charge will be having to push through the entirety of being OT now, which is going to be extremely difficult. Dragons have basically bought themselves two fights here. Gaga also gets whip-shotted away.
Oh, now watch me whip that Winston. Not going great here for Gaga. Still the primal rage at the bottom, but doesn't want to be the one continuously contesting this cart. However, it's demanded of him. He needs to do it. That's going to be a stick coming through onto Fate. Finally, a kill in favor of the Guangzhou Charge, but they can't really play as much momentum off this as they would like, as they are stuck on this cart.
Actually,
glued to it.
It's a huge kill, though, because we're in the OT, and Fate's going to take a long time to respawn. This is all free push for the Charge until Dragons get back. If they can save the EMP for the final push up the hill, it is cappable, but this has to be the best EMP.
Fate's return. Viper sends out the pulse bomb. Might well have gone on to Gaga. Now Gaga's going to top. Remember, there's going to be no LOS supports up there. EMP strips away some of Fate's HP, and now Gangnam Jin's coming in, ready to brawl. He's got himself plenty of power behind the mace of a face. But Guangzhou Charge scatter away and then return with their own rally. It's Xerneas now, who's got a big shield to put into the face of the Shanghai Dragons. He's been found by Gaga. The momentum finally shifting for the Guangzhou Charge, but an EMP from Hisu. Surely he dare not invest it here in a 2 versus 5.
They have.
That'll be it.
Dragons 4 versus 5. I think if they had 5 alive, they might have actually gone for that one, but they'll hold on to it. Still not enough time really for Charge, you'd think, to finish this map. They have to play through the C point fairly flawlessly, but man, if they didn't kill Fate early on that OT push, very different story. Even if it was a different player down, I think it's not nearly as strong of a 5v4 that they can push on. The fact that it was Fate dead in the OT specifically, where the respawns are longer, that gave Charge a lot of free push.
Plenty of free space. Remember, it's overtime cap here for Shanghai Dragons. Guangzhou Charge, so long as they finish, we can go to extra rounds. But that's so much to ask here against the EMP of Hisu Viper. The Prince with a pulse bomb. But can he find a target? It's Jimmy who strikes first. Xerneas. Gangnam Jin easily surviving. EMP forced out for a moment.
Dragons are slowing this one down. They don't feel the need to really put in too much into this until we get closer to the overtime. Obviously, that's the more important fight. That's the fight that really counts. But it does allow Jinmu to start catching up. Here comes the EMP probably now. Yep, 2 members caught. Jimmy down. Can they get a secondary? Jinmu is going to get away. I think Charge are mostly okay. This is, unless Gaga dies here, he'll need to, yeah, primals and receive the nano.
Well.
Just to survive the pulse.
The mitigation is used right here, but it might be enough to take out Gangnam Jin. No ability to block those fists, but now guess what? You've got to stay on the cart the entire time. Gaga might not have the health to make it work. Viper knows he can tear this tank apart. The pulse pistol's good at breaking down that Winston armor, but Bardic Grenade's even better at making sure the healing's going to be there. A distraction in the back as Jimmy's come back on one of his signature hit scan heroes, the Ash and the Viper.
Oh, the whip shot. Woke him up. That would have been a kill. Jimmy would have had the kill to Hisu. Now Hisu swaps over towards the Widow, making some long-range damage. Rally online for both teams, but I think Gangnam Jin has some longer rally here. Charge still have an opportunity, but they need to find the frags. Eris and Gangnam Jin are purple, and they get Eris and Viper down. Now the rally is gone. Dragons, they're into OT spawns. This is looking very capital. Fate also sleeping.
Oh,
Jimmy's
what a
in
shot.
frags here. Well, Hisu's not finding any value. 60% on the Widowmaker, but unfortunately no actual kills. There is going to be one more fight. Just barely enough time to respawn. Far away should think about Kiriko. Forget about the Ana. The run back is too long. You have to TP back to your team.
Far away, sticking with it. A heart of steel. But a DPS of mulch, torn apart under the auspices of the dive. Gaga stuck, and the healing's just not going to be there unless Farway can make it back in time. Overtime, going to be taken away real fast as Jinmu is eviscerated on cart. And Shanghai Dragons, by the skin of their teeth, will grab Midtown.
That's what I'm saying, man. You're not going to get a nano. It's just not going to happen. You're 60%, forget about it. Swap to Kiriko, TP back to your team, shorten the run back distance. There was just no healing for the Charge. There just wasn't healing. Beyond that, though, there wasn't enough time either. We're in the OT, which, okay, if you can actually win a couple fights in the OT, you're forcing Dragons onto OT spawns. That's good for the Charge, but the fact they needed to win 2 fights at the end there instead of just the 1 means that capping is that much harder. It's going to be a 4v5 because Dragons, despite losing members, they're going to get a full wave of respawns. Charge, they're not. Because Faraway has to come back from way too far away. Unlucky on the name on that one. Charge, tell you what, the series is looking like it might get a little far away from them as well. Dragons looking for that 100 franchise wins. Only 1 map away from doing it. We'll see if they can do it after this break. (2-0) for Shanghai. Midtown at least was much more competitive. That was a close shave for the Shanghai Dragons. Nearly forced that one into the time bank. Won't say that Charge would have necessarily won it, but they definitely made Shanghai Dragons sweat.
Oh yeah, sweating a little bit, hot under the collar, but this is turning out to potentially be a quick way for Shanghai Dragons to not only get their 100th franchise win, Avril, but also put them into that critical position of not only being 3-3, but having a positive map win rate as well. And that would put them on par with Dreamers, who are currently 3-3 with one map in hand. Shanghai Dragons currently 2-3 with a -2, but this might be where they can really get some extra cushioning on their stat line.
Shanghai Dragons looking forward to moving up in the rankings. What are they going to be equal to? Dreamers, as mentioned. So
yeah,
catching up to Seoul Dynasty would be the next task. And Hangzhou Spark as well. Seoul Dynasty and Hangzhou are currently 4-2 apiece. So I mean, we're starting to see Dragons shift up if they can take away this game.
And Dynasty actually in head-to-head, one of the big frags of the Shanghai Dragons, winning 3-1 in their first match of the Summer Stage Qualifiers. The re-debut of Fate as we look at our map set. Where are we going next? We're going to paint the town red on Dorado Dragons. You've got to imagine this is probably going to be more standard. Maybe Guangzhou Charge here can lean into those Jimmy like hit scan or Hanzo picks, try and take advantage of the long sight lines. Even though they did kind of come alive at the end of Midtown, it feels like consistently the standard is going the way of Shanghai Dragons.
See if anything really changes here for Dorado. I'm guessing no. It's not really Jinbu's style to go towards the Echo. Haven't seen Viper play that so far this year. It's likely more of the same. I mean, the only real possibility I'm thinking is a little bit of Jimmy on the Ashe. I've actually seen a bit of Hisu playing the hit scans as well. I think Shanghai at this stage know that they're the better dive team. Maybe just the better team generally speaking, so they'll stay on to what has been working.
Yeah, keep running it until they force you to swap. It worked for Atlanta Reign for a while, and admittedly now teams are bringing out some other things against them to try and test their mettle. Maybe that's exactly the same thing that needs to happen here in our match. Otherwise, it could be curtains for Guangzhou Charge, currently 1-4. They desperately don't want to be 1-5. It would be a depressing swan song. Guangzhou Charge will be able to set up here with the defensive Pharah. Okay. The no-pocket Pharah.
So like I said,
cookies.
It's not really Jimmy's style to play the Echo, but it is his style to play the Fire 100%. And that actually means that I think if you're Dragons, you stay on the Widowmaker here. You put the pressure. At least you maybe think about the Ashe instead. You think about something to do with the Fire. Torb is not what I had in mind. Okay, here we go. It's got Widowmaker. And I was thinking maybe the Echo, but Viper hasn't really shown it so far this year. Tracer and Echo together makes sense. Jimmy, I would expect that Jimmy should do something about this Viper Echo pick, though. So once again, going to be a Shanghai Dragons pause. But looking over the comps, the one way that you can really support Jimmy here without the direct healing is obviously throw him a bunch of healing packs from Xerneas' break. But Jimmy's got a big job to do, because the big counter on the opposite end is the Viper Echo, and it's Jimmy's job to shut that Echo down.
Indeed it is. Of course, quickly calling a pause. There's likely a technical reason, but in my mind, Viper's like, Fludder, you got any tips to play Echo, my guy? Of course, Fludder has had plenty of expertise, plenty of matches played against the Jinmu Pharah, a long rivalry of airborne gods in APAC. Let's have a quick look and see if we've got the news. Peripheral issue, sadly, for Viper. But that's okay, we'll get back into this quickly. We've got to talk about in the neutral. Without a pocket, you do tend to favor the Echo in the Pharah Echo duel, of course. You only have to hit like a couple of tri-shots before you can just rely on your tracking mechanics, and Pharah's a very easy target to track with the focusing beam. So it's going to require some consistent babysitting from Guangzhou Charge supports, but if you can keep them alive, the Moo does hit.
I think it's maybe going to be more difficult to execute success on the Fire than it is going to be on the Echo. But it is Jinmu. There's one player I trust with the Fire, it's Jinmu. We also did talk about the fact that it's unpocketed, and that's going to cause other additional issues. I think the thing about it being unpocketed means that if Jinmu ends up swapping off, which is likely at some stage during this map, Xerneas doesn't also then lose his ult charge. He's already on the correct hero. He knows Brig is ultimately when he needs to be on. So you're not going to end up losing a bunch of time playing Mercy instead. It does say that Guangzhou aren't fully committed to the idea of running the Fire long term. It's just going to be a little bit of a brief escapade, I think, before they swap off.
Critically with Jimmy on the Widowmaker as well. Jinmu does have the ability to play the Tracer if it's required, but I think we'd likely be seeing the full compositional swap over to the standard Tracer in conjunction with the Sombra. I'm surprised we don't see Gaga playing the Wrecking Ball here, but maybe a little bit nervous about going up against the Hisu Sombra. Last time we saw this was on Midtown against Dallas Fuel, and I believe Gaga was playing the Wrecking Ball in that instance. Admittedly, it might have been a somewhat tilted defensive pick on Midtown, going up against the no-win available option, where they were playing for the draw against the Dallas Fuel. That's where Jinmu scored some nasty hits on those Echoes. So whenever Jinmu can take that duel, he can take it confidently.
I don't think we're going to see any ball. Probably for the best here for the Guangzhou Charge.
Agree.
I don't even think we're going to see... we'll see how long Jimmy rather stays on for this Widowmaker. Really good for the entire duration of A. That's the good news about Widowmaker. Much better than Ashe in that regard, I think. And I think both teams are going to suffer on the Flyers once they get past the rooftops A. And that's really the Flyers' area to play and dominate in. But once you get into the courtyard of A, both Flyers will probably struggle a little bit more. I think the lack of a damage boost on the Rockets as well is going to be a little bit painful.
Yeah, it's going to make the healing a lot easier for Gangnam Engineers to catch up on those quickly. As one of the things that's interesting about the damage boost on those rockets is that you can one-tap a Tracer if someone does want to try and take the Tracer into that arena. 156 damage a damage-boosted direct rocket does, which for those of you who are math heads at home, big enthusiasts of numbers, is more than 150, so the Tracer can just be instantly eviscerated, no chance to recall.
Would have been nice to see Xerneas and Jinmu again back on the old Fire and Mercy duo. They were, I think, the premier Fire and Mercy that we have had in the Overwatch League, in the history of the Overwatch League. Outside of, 2019, Ding and Coma era for Shanghai Dragons. It's a very different Shanghai Dragons roster from all the way back then.
Yeah,
Ding
I
remembers.
Xerneas.
Ding remembers because he's the lead observer for WDG currently for this for Overwatch League. So
yeah,
let's wait for those peripherals. Gaga cleaning his peripherals while we wait.
You know, you got to keep your mouse clean, gamers. Don't let anyone come into your room, see your stanky mouse. They're gonna judge you. I promise. Get yourself some isopropyl. Make sure that it's clean. Yeah, Xerneas was a pretty nifty Mercy. Like, of all the Mercy players, Xerneas definitely one of the top ones we ever had. It's not a competitive field, I'm not gonna lie. Of course, in Season 1, it was a bit more of a competitive field when we had the old Moth meta and all of the traumatic memories that revives. Ah, the double instant res. What a time to be alive.
You also just need the res for the Fire. That's a bit of an issue for the Fire player as well. I mean, you're almost guaranteed to die during a barrage, right? So having the res available is going to be one way to save yourself from that. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting situation here. I haven't really been able to see Fire on Dorado, not for a very long time, and we won't see it for a little while because we're going to go to a quick break and we'll find out if the Fire works after this. Well, praying that Hisu has managed to get the peripheral issue sorted out, and we'll get back into map 4 Dorado. Very exciting, I think, compositional matchup here. Look, rare amounts of times we could just stray away from the meta leg day, so I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm out here. I'm pumped. I'm excited. Seeing some of the other heroes available in Overwatch. Should be some more coming out soon with season 6 as well. PvE on the horizon. Obviously, I'm gonna grab Avril against his will, taking him into the queues. He's probably got cooler friends than me to play with, but I have few options.
We will see. We will see. Rough day to be a Washington fan today, not gonna lie.
Oh yeah.
Best substitution. I bring it up because I see the Washington shirt in the fans, in the crowd.
Maybe they're a MAG fan, you know? Maybe they're a MAG fan. They're eating okay as
just, you know, just the Decay fan that's still living under a rock. Like,
exactly.
Who's on that Washington team again? Maybe they're an Alpha E fan.
Oh, what? The Prestige one? Like the MAG, Fury, Decay? Oh,
Prestige one.
Yeah, like that seemed like such a good team on paper. I thought that they like could go all the way, and they just collapsed. That team had all the great.
It happens more often than not, actually.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many times it happens in the Overwatch League.
Boston doing okay thus far? You know? So sometimes
on
paper.
They nearly went to a map 5 versus Rain.
Don't. Yes. They nearly went there. Don't bring it up. Highly recommend.
I didn't get to see the Colosseo actually, so I'm still looking forward to that. I didn't get to.
Yeah, we're having a chat to Unknown.
I heard it was a good
today. Got Unknown commenting about certain ults being used at certain times and their potential inefficacy. Of course, afterwards we got a beautiful tweet, or an X, pardon me. We got an X coming out from Twilight of Smurf, anime crying in the rain, just running around in a thunderstorm. So yeah, hopefully the peripheral issue is
He didn't look sad at all, actually. Smurf looked like he was having a good time.
I'm just pushing my own narrative onto it, you know. Good color grade, a little bit of editing. I can make it look sad.
You're trying to editorialize some doom and news. What you're doing?
Yeah. What can I say? Gaming journalism.
All journalism, actually.
All journalism.
All news, actually.
Wow.
Any news.
Afro versus journalism. This is the fight we need.
Any news about peripherals, though? Any news?
Oh.
That's the news I'm looking for.
Yeah, I'm having a little read. Wow, okay, we're getting some remote IT support. Interesting. So we've got some big time to fill here. This is time for me to open up some pages and see what's going on. What's going on later today in North America? Let's have a look. Florida versus Washington. Will Ben Best once again play the Ana? That's a question that's on everybody's lips. Surely not.
Probably not. I'm gonna guess no.
Oh, London versus Eternal.
You know what? I feel silly, but I somehow I did a very good pred that London was going to beat Glads, and I got that right. But now I've also gone the opposite way, and I've predded that Vegas is going to beat London, which I'm actually very worried about that. I'm extremely worried about that pred. I feel like I'm going to be wrong there.
You are a man of no
loyalty.
But
if I'm right, I'm going to be so insufferable if I'm right. So
you are going to get another notch on the insufferability belt. If you are correct about that.
I don't know.
Can you imagine?
The problem is I'm a knife believer. I'm on the knife hype train. The problem with that the issue I have with that though is that Vegas don't seem to be on the knife train because they took knife out. So true. I'm on the knife train. I'm a believer. Vegas not believing. Why Vegas not believing? That's an issue.
Potentially large fumble. It all went downhill from there. I can't believe they almost got their first win and. Maybe they did get their first win.
I expected them to. I predicted them to beat Valiant. It didn't happen.
That's crazy. Do you think this is similar to a Shanghai situation from Season 1 where teams are extra prepping up against the Vegas Eternal because they don't want to be the first team to lose to Vegas?
I don't think Valiant would be that sad. I think Valiant are just happy to be here.
Come on, man. Oh.
That wasn't even meant to be offensive. That was just straight up truth.
Well, every time Valiant win and we get a Liar interview, I am a happy boy. Like, we saw Liar talking, said that if you're looking to be an aspiring main support, whatever you do, Don't watch a funny Astro VOD, my guy. You are not him. No matter how him you think you are, him you are not. I reckon Vegas will be able to get past, like, the obtuseness of London's Reinhardt comp? Oh, what? Vegas' upcoming matchups? It's a great question. They've got London,
is, like,
then
well,
Vancouver.
Here's the thing. Vegas is not going to play right into it. They don't have that. All they can do, the best they can do is play Ram into it. It is going to be map dependent as well. I don't know what the map pool looks like for them.
Oh, yeah. This could be a match that is almost...
If they get good dive maps, if it's very good dive maps, I think Vegas have a strong chance.
Yeah.
If it's very good brawl maps, I think Vegas are done. It's going to be an L.
Yeah,
I got a question for you. Are Glad's going to beat Vancouver?
Oh.
Probably not, right? I think Vancouver are better at the moment.
I don't think Glad's beat Vancouver. I think Vancouver are feeling pretty hot at the moment. I think Ascoff's got a good finger on the pulse of the meta. I think the Gladiators they're having a post-Dante depression, you know?
This is what Vegas have left. If they don't beat London, this is what Vegas have left for the rest of the season. This is all the remaining games, because we're assuming they're probably not going to get playoffs with their current, what is it? 0-11 record. And this is their games. Yeah. After London, it's Vegas, Vancouver, then Vegas Shock, and then Vegas Houston, and then the final match of the entire season, the entire year, maybe the entire existence, Vegas Shock again. Those are the remaining games. So if they don't beat London, what are the chances they beat those teams?
I mean, can we talk about the fact that Shock somehow managed to, I don't know, get some dirt on whoever's making the schedule and get Vegas twice in like a week? That's crazy.
Yeah, but then they have to. But Shock also have to play Atlanta in the following week, and they also have Vancouver, and that's actually going to be a tough game as well. So you balance it out. You balance it out.
It's going to be a sad time going up against Atlanta, who are getting progressively more and more incensed and angry as they racking up some L's in that column. Now I believe they're tied for first with Florida Mayhem, because Florida Mayhem managed to take one off them. I imagine we still have a better map record.
Isn't it 12-2 and 11-2? That's what I'm seeing.
Maybe.
I'm seeing it 12-2, 11-2. Florida's down by 1.
You know, if you are looking upon that, that's probably going to be the truth. However, we do have Florida versus Washington today, so it will soon be 12-2 for both of them. Not that I'm making any audacious spreads here. Ben Best is the granite statue that stands between Florida Mayhem.
Enough discussion about Benjamins who are very best. We're back to the regularly scheduled Viper, Jinmu, Aerial. No, we're not. No. No, we are. Yes, we are. We're unpausing. Or are we pausing? No, we are pausing. Okay. Go on. What were you saying about Ben Best? Continue about Ben Best, please. Tell me more about Benjamin Best.
You know what? Ben Best is my case study for the fact that I think that tank players are the most, like, coach-dependent role in the game for how much value they get out. Like, Ben Best, Season 2 Paris, not great at all. However, under Rush, on Season 3 Paris, when they picked up Hanbin and Sparkle, I know that the team around him got a lot better.
The team around him was Fielder, Hanbin, Sparkle.
Bro, let me hype up my guy.
Who was the main support again? Why am I forgetting? It was Jexo. Was it Jexo? It was no.
Oh, it might. I don't think it was Jexo.
Why am I forgetting?
I think Jexo was on Fuel at that time.
No, he was on Houston at that time. I'm totally wrong. Well, who was on?
Hold up. We're rolling back the clock to try and figure it out.
What's going on here? Why am I forgetting? 2020 regular
was
season.
That the half and half where they had Gray?
Oh, we had FD God. Why did I forget about? How did I forget about that?
Ah, man, it's because Ben Best now taking
FD God's
job on.
No more discussion about gods who are FD or Benjamins who are best. We're back in the regularly scheduled Viper and Jinmu show. And you know what? Viper's like, I'm gonna make sure I beat Jinmu's solo fire because we're gonna get the Gangnam Jin Mercy on board as well.
Wow, so unfair. However, you can't play fair against the Moo in the sky. He is an anti-air missile in every sense of the word.
Jimmy.
That was a somewhat inglorious dive there from Fate. It's okay. The right clicks are going to be able to.
Fate really wants. Fate just got rolled. He's trying to just go. He's tunnel visioning Jimmy, and he just gets rolled. He got slept and pounded by Jinmu with the rockets.
Fate missed the initial dive as well. All the grace and poise of the last season of Game of Thrones falling down a flight of stairs.
No. I think he was preempting Jimmy falling off. Because normally it's mind games. Is the Winston dives on the top, and then the Widow goes to the ground. But that being said, you can just drop off the top. I don't know.
You might as well hedge your bets, because you also were affected by gravity, for those of you who are unaware of Winston's physics. That's going to be a quick nade here.
Okay, Viper's doing a highlight reel. Okay, Viper, this is some Albert Dicker mode gaming happening right now.
Some what mode?
He chose the name, not me.
Man, true he did. Blame that one on Albert. You want to find someone? Find the manager.
That was sick, though. That was extremely sick. Good plays by Viper for real. A is going to be done. So Jimmy finally gets taken down by Viper, and that is the beginning of the end for A. So going to stick on to the fire until the barrage gets played in, but a hard task, I think, to get the barrage off when as soon as you go for the barrage, you're just going to get beamed down by Viper, so I don't really see any good opportunities to play the ult.
The Legend Mercy is arrived.
Xerneas is healing now too.
Xerneas has decided that they're going for the aerial duel, and I could not be happier. I tire of these double flankers. I wish for aerial combat. And it's a DB give them. I've had enough of this, Winston.
Kinmu says no.
That's so sad.
Where was Xerneas? I'm trying.
I do not know.
Camp on the body. That's going to prevent the res. That's a really nice camp by Hisu. It's been a while. Okay, I didn't deny the res, so the body lingered long enough that Xerneas still managed to get in there. I thought Xerneas maybe burned the quarter, but apparently not. It's been a while since we've seen the Hisu Tracer. It's one of the good things about this Shanghai lineup as well, is that both players are good enough at the Tracer, preferably on Viper though. Speaking of which, Viper now working over towards another duplicate, but it's Hisu already down. 4v5. Can Dragons do anything about this?
Beautiful shot from Jimmy onto Hisu. Somebody summon Custer. This seems like an ill-fated resurrection. Why have you returned me to this hell, Father? I wish to perish in peace.
Viper rezzed into a death. Jimmo's really had his number. I'm not gonna lie, just aerial domination. Gangnam Jim popped the Valk for that as well. Dragons really wanted it. Hisu wants to snipe. This game just got very interesting. It's double flyers, double snipers. In the year of 2023.
It truly is real. Now this is Overwatch, Avril. Pure salt of the earth. Ranked in plat. Ready to go Overwatch. Dorado's always been a little bit of a lab. Heroes can. Yes, they can. Hisu's just getting slowly tickled down. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
The problem is, Eris is down and Gangnam just pocketing Viper. Not for long. Jimmy just double headshots. Ooh. Wouldn't mind to see that one again. Charge are really... I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. Chengdu might be gone, but the Chengdu zone is here for real. And the Dragons have been... They have been shoved straight into the Chengdu zone here. We are deep in the zone currently.
I am purchasing a VIP pass to the... Hold up, Fate is on a mission. Secret Agent Fate in the back line. He's suspected. Far away. Doesn't look upwards. He doesn't think laterally. It's a big old sleep for Viper.
Nice sleep.
He is crazy. Oh, Xerneas though. It's clock, but it's cancelled by Viper.
Yeah, his coffees on Ana have been sick. He's been nailing the cooldowns on Ana every time he gets a coffee. And now that's got to be the first major push. I say that because the payload is actually pretty far away. So Charge will definitely get another reset off this, assuming no one else goes down. Hisu now onto the Sombra, so we're slowly moving back towards stand, and Gangnam Jin has been on the brig now. At 75%. Soon Viper will swap off and go Tracer as well. He'll probably play one more life for the Echo, I think. They're also confident they'll get the cap, and once the cap happens, he's definitely swapping.
Nano coming in onto the Echo. Viper gets instantly slept. Ah, shades of other. However, does survive the wake up. Good morning, everybody. Rise and shine. It's time for Dorado C, potentially Gaga. Feels otherwise. Getting angry on the cart, but batted away by the backhands of Fate. And Hisu being able to keep an EMP for only a moment. Look at the recontest, though. Hisu overused potentially the EMP. Jinmu's going to get healed up now. And Shanghai Dragons have floundered at the last second, even with the huge investment.
Wow, we saw some huge C9s today, but that was an impressive hold from the Charge. ping-ponging a couple members as Jinmu and Gaga just trying to keep the payload contested in the final hours on. Hisu's gone straight back over towards the Widowmaker. The Summer EMP landed, and I was thinking, okay, Dragons can cap off this EMP, and it'll be a huge expenditure and Charge. Likely okay with that, but now it's not guaranteed that they cap at all, especially with that shot. My goodness, Viper just deleted.
Jimmy and Jinmu combining to bring the Chengdu Zone to your television sets in 2023. Hisu, could he be Lise? Not Lise enough, and not close enough to the cart.
He's not touching. It's not happening.
Would be the world's longest grapple.
The Ragdoll will hit the payload, but not a living Widowmaker. Thank you very much. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? This really is peak Overwatch. I'm entertained. This is some extremely peak Overwatch. I want to see the Jimmy double tap again. I'm willing to also just watch the one-shot nano damage booster rocket, which by the way does 200 damage.
Yeah. Instantly evaporates the Mercy. The hollow bones of the birds that allow them to fly.
These guys are
not very strong. They're both entertained. We're having a great time. Is he giving finger guns to the camera? What's up?
The Dragons are locked in. Now it's going to be up to Charge to see if they want to do anything funny here. Pretty sure Jimmy's just doing a scouting arrow. Jimmy might actually play the Genji here. It's kind of like a pseudo-attacking Echo. Try and do something about the rooftops. The issue is somebody needs to play a character that's able to continually push the payload and put pressure on objective, and that's usually a Tracer, so it's usually why you would prefer to at least have a Tracer on board.
Gangnam playing up on this red roof. This is definitely going to be a close hold for the Shanghai Dragons, but I'm somewhat concerned about Gangnam Jin's disengagement routes, as they are going to have the path likely down on the main road. Oh no, it's easy enough to get across there. I don't play
now Xerneas and Gaga have to be the one contesting payload instead, on the attacking side obviously to push it along. Jinmu's going to be working on getting dives on a height. Okay, early death.
Assist coming from afar from Iris. You can see it reflected in the ult charge as well. Only done. The detection, and Jimmy will try his luck.
He's popping up. He's giving it a good go.
Trying to whack them all. Whack a heat. Oh, quick disengage here. Space claimed by Gaga and Fate backing off as well. This should allow for a little bit of pressure on the car, but remember, with no Tracer, you are usually going to be at a disadvantage compared to Viper. Jimmy already taken down. The flankers have managed to manufacture a dive onto the Archer. That's bad for any medieval army.
He is playing old favorite, which means we're hoping for a Jimmy pop-off moment. He did pretty well on the Ash. Pretty well on the Widowmaker as well. Now it's time for his other signature, his real signature, you could even say, on the Hanzo to show its value. Slow down here on the payload push, though. That's kind of what we expect. Charge. I need to dislodge Fate to really get this payload moving again. Nano's available on both sides. It has to be expended here.
Nano onto Jimmy. Try and give him enough cushion to survive the now Winston onslaught. Disengage is clean enough from Fate, but he will be able to get away from that. But punting coming through from Jimmy.
Fate is really far away now.
He is too far away, potentially.
Wow, the rest of the team's looking to have backed out as well, possibly. Backed out directly on towards Jinmu. Here comes the stick as well. Viper is clean in house. The Charge, well, they get the payload into the archway. That's not bad innings, but for 2 minutes, it's probably still behind par at this stage.
Fate is strong, and the trap is sprung. Jinmu had no idea what was waiting for him. Location reported back, and those flankers quick to surround and execute.
Spawning imp, are we? Oh, we are.
Oh, we are. An arrow in the knee right there. You can see the Sonic arrow coming through. The blade now onto the Brigitte. Iris next up tries to get the deflect off a sleep, but Iris is just too good, man. That's crazy. And that's going to be Jimmy who's picked up on the other side by the Viper. Yes, Iris will go down, but it's at the cost of 2 ultimates. Both Gaga and Jinmu having to expend everything to remove the Ana here, but it's going to be converted into cart push, admittedly, and now Fate's got an extra 1,000 HP to try and play with. Hisu's got room to brawl, but up against the Winston shield, damage is going to be minimized. Jinmu's taken to the sky here, realizing that Shanghai can't really do too much about it in the courtyard as they return with their flankers. Out goes a Dragon Strike. Hungry, but not feasting.
Wow.
He's managed to find Jinmu somehow.
Must have been a hack. Yeah, that should not really be a normal kill, but Hisu will pay for it with his life. So still, Charge roughly leading at this stage, but Gunner and Ares looking over towards Ultimate's bait going down is rough. No extra health from the rally because it wasn't there. Gangnam Jin was missing about 1% away. And obviously there's not going to be an out, but even if there was, I think Fate was, he was purpled anyway. So the only thing that could have saved him would have been the bonus HP from that rally. Wasn't there. And eventually the cap will come on in. So Charge going to continue on this far for a while longer. I don't expect that Viper's going to swap over to Echo again, so this might just be a full commit, at least for B.
The ancient Eldritch Curse, but further placed upon the Shanghai Dragons when he was moved over to the coaching role, does say that they can only finish a series in 4 maps. A 3-0 would be unavailable if the Eldritch deities have their way. Still Gaga controlling the high ground here, just trying his best not allow Eris to move up too far. It's once again going to be a defensive nano onto Jimmy. All in for the Guangzhou Charge onto their MVP, but Jimmy's a little bit too far away to get a huge amount of real value out of this. Instead, just keeping Fate at bay. It's going to be all that's on the cards.
220 left to go. Okay movement. It's about to be Hisu's time to pop off, though. He needs a little bit more ult charge. Has to translocate away. And that kill might signal the opportunity for Charge to be able to get to the end of the map. And the end is just going to be at the bottom of B because they don't have to finish the whole of Dorado. Jimmy surviving here will be huge, and it looks like he is going to be okay. Where's Hisu? He's got the EMP now.
Do you want to use the EMP with Viper down is the question. Just about coming back from Spawn. There's for EMP to get a quick hop, skip, and a jump. Placed up deep into the air by a whip shot from Zernius, but it only allows for longer travel onto Jimmy. Jinmu. His disengage means nothing to Hisu. Hello, Hisu. It's me, your conscience. We haven't talked for a while. Could you please stop bullying them?
It was nearly a great escape from Gaga, but Fate will end up getting the last smidge of damage in. And now time is starting to look a little bit ugly for the Guangzhou Charge, and he got a good shot to finish this map and win it, but the last 130 could be pretty tough. EMP ultimately is going to be successful, but beyond that, the rest of the Dragons hold on to ults, and nothing further had to be spent there, which is not what you want for the Charge. They would like the Dragons to have a lot less ultimates, so this next fight could get bloody.
Indeed it will. Nuclear fusion on the cards as there are so many ticks ready to go. There's... Oh, hello. Going sky high, are we? Are we feeling Miro-esque? Fate indeed does, but the nano boost is going to make this even more difficult. Dropping down from the sky, but the jump jets return soon. It's only a second that they can't use them for about a moment. And now Jinmu heading in with the barrage. You dare use it against the rally. Oh, Viper with the double. That's crazy to relieve the pressure. And that's everything that Shanghai needed. Once again, the Prince with the pulse bomb comes up big.
I think you'll find it's the pulse bomb Prince.
Ah, pardon me.
There you go. Get it right.
What a courtly faux pas I've just made.
Yeah.
The king will be displeased.
I am. Jimmu. I was looking for a barrage there. He was looking at Gangnam Jin. Wanted to get rid of the rally. With the pulse bomb coming through to get the double, Jimmu had to make the call to save it. So they're going to still try for it. He's just about to have another EMP. That is massively problematic for the Charge. If Hisu had a kill there to Jimmy, that might have just been GG's.
One fight to roll them all. And in the barrage to bind them, Gangnam Jin taken apart by rocket after rocket. The munitions of Guangzhou Charge undeterred by the EMP. Hisu simply did not have the means of following that up. And now how do you enter against this Pharah?
Hisu touch.
Yes,
Hisu
can touch. Gangnam's just going over onto the Lucia, but there's no chance. The Eldritch Curse is as strong as it was when it was first placed into the veins of the Shanghai Dragons. You can't get it done in 3. We're going to push.
Oh, you want to drag it into the Chengdu zone. What the Masters of Chaos are the Chengdu Hunters, or should I say the Guangzhou Charge this time around in Shanghai. They ain't familiar. They were not familiar with their game. And the Guangzhou Charge, they're going to push it into fire territory. They're going to get the Widowmakers rolling. Jimmy's going to play a little bit of Hanzo and Ash. The Shanghai Dragons got caught sleeping there. That was an awkward look for the Shanghai Dragons. It's rough when Viper goes for the counter towards a Pharah. It's pocketed by Gangnam Jin. Jinmu's still out dueling in the skies. Jinmu's just that good as an aerial duelist, as a Pharah player. Even final 2 fights there, plays a desperation swap onto his one trick and he'll get it done. He will win the map for you. And as you mentioned, we're going to push next, so we'll see what happens after this break. I'll tell you what, it's not over. Guangzhou Charge managed to make this very, very interesting indeed. That was some good Dorado, some good Overwatch, and some wait required. Not gonna lie, a good amount of waiting before we got into that game, but it was a pretty impressive map.
You know what? If we had to wait that long and they just played standard, I would have been miffed. I would have been angry. But you know what? It was worth it. The anticipation made it all the better. We had our time talking about Ben Best, but now all I can talk about is Jinmu. Oh, what an aerial duelist he is. Like, is there anyone more scary 10 feet above the ground than Jinmu? Maybe Jinmu with one of the most advanced mercy pockets of all time. And even when we thought the Jinmu couldn't be res, he still somehow managed to steal that one out from the Shanghai Dragons as well.
I think the only thing that would be scary would be the Lockheed AC-130 gunship ground attack variant of the C-130 Hercules transport fixed-wing aircraft. That would be the one. Yeah.
What about Jinmu being the gunner on one of those?
Is he pocketed by Mercy? Would be my next question. Coliseo is our next map. No far. Well, actually, you could play that. You could really force fire if you were really inclined. It is possible to force fire.
It could be real annoying around that glass. You definitely hear some distant echoing of a
strongest glass in the world, by the way. Stops everything in the game.
Yeah. I gotta get I
don't know what that glass is made of, but they gotta make every plane out of that glass.
the transparent plane, everyone could just see you sitting down. Would probably have some significant issues for the bathrooms. Gotta say, as I move on from that as quickly as I possibly can. I imagine that we're likely going to be seeing a return to hard standard from the Shanghai Dragons, but hey, the Guangzhou Charge.
Oh, that guy's, he's drinking good.
Dude, that guy is glugging. He's got the chug on the go.
What's interesting about this matchup is his Fate just hovered ball for a hot second. I'm thinking, that's right. Both Gaga and Fate had insanely good balls in 2021. That gave me a bit of a nostalgia for a brief hot second there, but it was brief because I know we're not going to see ball today. It ain't happening, but we are going to get the Jimmy Hanzo. I did mention earlier on when we saw the maps at Coliseo, it is somewhat friendly for a Hanzo.
Pretty friendly. You can get around the glass. If you can't destroy it, you can always go over it. Can't go under it just yet. No burrowing hero, Jimmy. Under pressure, but easily able to kite around these little pillars. Plenty of means to escape from a Winston who seems focused in on trying to take you down. Guangzhou Charge are going to quickly counterpunch here to take back the space, but Shanghai Dragons aren't overly keen to try and fight that while afflicted with an anti.
A lot of this is going to come down to Jimmy landing his shots in this long corridor, this long hallway, this long concourse area of the neutral for the map. This is where the Hanzo dominates. This is what you really pick the Hanzo for, to win these neutrals, to win these skirmishes at this part of the map. And finally the damage does come through. I'm not too sure how much of the damage was Jimmy's, but certainly the two supports and Gaga got it done.
Getting this early lead as well, super important for the Guangzhou Charge. Like you said, they want to try and play this neutral in the long corridor, and for more times you can force those fights just by being able to play defensively rather than have the onus be on you to move the bot and the barricade. That's a nasty stick, but it's not even needed. It's an ornamental stick. He's simply showing off, but still, barricade has moved a little bit, and Guangzhou Charge are going to get out of dodge.
He's just showing that he can get him. He's just trying to, he's stat padding the pulse bomb stick percentage rate. That's what that is.
It's not about efficiency. It's about sending a message.
It's the opposite of what Zest does. So he actively counter stat pads his pulse bomb stick rate.
There are two different kinds of tracers. Inside every man, there are two wolves and two tracers. One of them wants to stick the other tracer, and everyone loves to just have it on the Winstons. Isu with an EMP here. Could decimate the back line. Once far away, and indeed the three-person dive is cleanly executed, but so too is Viper. An arrow through the dome, tries the brain pan, but Fate's got plenty of damage behind him with this nano boost to simply rack the nerves of the Guangzhou Charge, and this one should be done and dusted for Shanghai.
It's not looking good for Charge anymore. The ultimates were there, and Genetics even commits a rally, but all for naught, unfortunately. Slows down Shanghai briefly. Shanghai committed pretty big there, so ultimately for Charge, I don't think it's the worst situation. Okay, one rally down, but for what Shanghai Dragons put into it, not bad in terms of real expenditure. 4 ultimates online. Flip's about to come on through. Still early days though, so not the end of the world for Charge to lose the lead at this point in time. Should be able to get the payload back is pretty quick as well.
One of the things we'll have to think about over the course of this, of course, is lacking the big ticket EMP ultimate. Big ticket ultimate from Jinmu, though, and express delivery onto the back of Eris with the pulse bomb. Anything Viper can do, I can do too. Viper himself as well sends out a pulse bomb, unable to connect. So many members of Guangzhou Charge low. The Dragon Strike sent out, looks to gobble up the Brigitte. It does do damage, but won't claim this. Gangnam actually a little bit separated from the team here. Could be taken away. Remember, if that shield breaks, no shield bash will be available. The peel is solid, but not enough when Gargar's leaving.
These are down there as well, so losing the setup on your Sombra. Now we're going to find some distance on Guangzhou. How much can they get here? They should be able to get the flip back again. 30 meters is not that much. Gaga barely misses the jump into the window. Again, fairly inconsequential at this stage. They need a little bit more to play through. Hisu's going to have to burn an EMP just to take back control. He's been revealed, though, which is problematic.
That's the tempo, that's the momentum. A new setup, a new comm must be given. Viper needs to have enough of those blinks to make this work.
He's going to have to go really deep.
Yeah, Fate's getting that low means that he can't really use the EMP without risking Fate's life. Second he gets topped up though, the EMP flaying in. And blasts apart the Guangzhou Charge.
Yep, no chance to save anybody there. Even if Farway managed to get a nano in, somebody was going to die. They were always going to be 4v5. So better for the Charge to hold ultimates, play for the neutral, accept the fact that they're leading by 11 meters. So they actually got 10 more meters than I thought. I thought they would just kind of end at 30, but no, they get 41. And very costly for the Dragons to take that back as well. It was always probably going to get them an EMP into the mix. This is very aggressive.
Been swashed.
Aggressively working as Shanghai will now get the lead back.
Gaga is nothing but meaty sleet raining down upon the remaining members of the Guangzhou Charge, and while Jinmu can touch the cart and try and hinder forward progress, it seems ill-fated at this moment to try for such. Gargar's finally returned. Primal Rage in the back pocket means it can be a little bit more audacious with these positions and uses it to force Viper out of these areas. Quick back out. Now,
what does Charge use?
What do they use?
Nano probably on Hisu nearly just died straight up the far away, hitting the left flex. Charge got to spend something because they're losing time at this stage, and Halo's in their territory. Far away under pressure. Nano gets sent out. Let's see how cheap Charge can make this. It's gonna start costing a little bit more considering Fate and Gun 100 also throw ultimates in. And at this point, if you're Charged, you're probably gonna need to throw in 2 more ults as well.
Getting that bot even further more important to consider where that bot could be contested from on top of the bridge. Gargar's gone deep. It's Jimmy hitting a headshot onto a Viper. Custer's been awoken in a sweat somewhere. Jimmy's doing what he does best.
Far way down.
That's bad.
Especially when Charge is starting to get some real momentum. Break on the Gunamjin though. Xerneas now, the Soul Brig on the field, and extra armor helping the team out. Now the real cleanup starts to happen. The payload moving backwards. Dragons on position to get a cap if they win 2 more fights. Charge still have a little bit of catch up to do before they can get into that position themselves. But they did have to spend 3 ultimates to get here. And once again, it's Hisu on the EMP. That's always been the biggest problem with Charge. Have to actually survive against an EMP to be able to put themselves in position to get a cap at all.
Gaga having to use his shield just to try and get that additional push on the bot, get into a position where maybe you could guarantee some distance if you can win the next fight. This is an ideal place for the Hanzo, but also a great place to get EMP'd. And you can bet that he gets absolutely clobbered. In comes the Hanzo. A stick actually came onto her, I do believe, from Jinmu, but it might well have been onto someone who was easily able to rebuff that, possibly onto Fate. And now moving forward, Fate slept up, minimizes the damage coming through from the Nano, but the forward momentum of Shanghai Dragons is so strong, the bot is almost in a position to push as well. Throughout all of this, there's been some sneaky, tricksy hobbitses playing on the objective and keeping this in such a dangerous position where Guangzhou Charge feel the need to go forward. They feel the need to find a carry, and Jimmy's going to have to be that. A nano boost onto a Hanzo. It's been the unorthodox play that Charge have done again and again, but yet again it fails to find any dividends, and Guangzhou Charge are just brutally beaten.
Fate was all over the show there. He was able to get all around the Charge. Back line, front line, around the sides. Soloing far away. Straight back onto the payload. Jimmy now on towards the Ash. Second hear him. Still the long range. quite a bit more lacking, I think, on the ability to spot a Hisu EMP. And speaking of which, it will be coming online again. This is where Shanghai start to really mark their territory to get this win. Good distance now. Cap confirmed. Coliseo again. Notoriously hard to cap, and they got it. Hisu 10% away.
Oh, the double primal rage off the edge. Gaga might die, but he goes out in style. What a martyrdom for him to walk away with. I thought that he might have been getting a touch too aggressive, but hey, can't argue with the
They have to win
results.
that. Otherwise, Hisu drops EMP, and they lose about 100 meters. In terms of losing that, I mean, Shanghai Dragons gain 100 meters, and Charge would be, I mean, you're not quite ready to call it, but you might as well. It's 41 to 78 already. 130 roughly left to go through. EMP.
EMP, Jinmu. Just destroyed. That British person is no match for me and my bullets, says Hisu. And once again, Shanghai Dragons grabbing momentum. We should be able to reactivate forwards.
And supports caught. This could be huge. If supports don't make it out of here, that is a huge problem. One down, Zernius to follow. Protected by Gaga. It's a 4v5. No matter what it is, a 4v5 this Charge. Just can't keep the members alive. Gaga now critical HP. Pulse bomb by Viper hits once more. And now Gaga will fall to Fate as Fate looks for the full cleanup. Shanghai Dragons about to confirm the full 100. And there's less than a minute left. Very little the Charge can do. I don't know if the Dragons are going to finish the entire map, but it doesn't matter. They're on board to win.
I'll quote the ancient text to you. We were there when they were written. It has to happen in 4. Shanghai Dragons either lose 3-1 or they win 3-1, but it always ends on push. It's looking even more like Shanghai Dragons will be able to walk away with a victory here and go 3-3. It's going to be an early pressure onto Jimmy. Vidal going well thus far. Some cookies going in. Does mean there's going to be less available for Gaga. Or rather, less available for Fate to see moves on her.
Dragons can chill now. They don't have to push the payload anymore. It's up to Charge to win this. Win every subsequent fight. OT's about to hit as well. Hisu up to potentially another EMP, and every single EMP has been impactful. They've all been able to win fights for the Shanghai Dragons. Charge has just not been able to survive against any of them.
Viper asking, did you forget me when it comes to Rookie of the Year? A Pulsum in his back pocket might be able to make even more so of a case for Shanghai Dragons' young gun. Hisu with an EMP as well. Guangzhou Charge are up against it. They require like
supports
maybe
coming
6
online.
or 7 support outs. Be allowing Shanghai Dragons to have critical mass of power. That is so unfortunate. EMP given. Jimmy is already sailing away, so not the most effective here from Hisu. The follow-up's a little bit lackluster as well. Shanghai Dragons lose Viper on the way in, who didn't even deliver the pulse bomb. And Fate is forced to scurry away with whatever meager tail a Gorilla has between its legs.
We'll see what Shanghai can do now. They can't get themselves staggered. That's the most important thing. Shanghai need to reset for a neutral fight 5v5. At minimum, if Shanghai lose more fights, it's okay. As long as Charge is spending, Shanghai build themselves up to critical mass, which, to be fair, is not that far away now. They can basically get critical mass. If they wanted to, they could even give up this fight, just play away from the Bob. Fate's already out of the mix. Reset for another situation. Riley and Bob commit. That's gigantic for a nano. It's extremely expensive. Dragons win the resource trade there.
I'm going to have much more than a rally to try and work this out, though. Gangnam Jin spotted, far away, harassed. And harried in the back. What a shot from Jimmy. That could be so much to work with, but Viper's already taken care of Jinmu, and you know how much of an issue that's going to be during overtime. Now Gaga has to stay on this bot, and he can't really afford to move away from it to try and finish off Gangnam Jin. Jimmy pushed up onto the high ground, but guess what? You got an angry Gorilla, and maybe no coach gun to bring yourself back to terra firma, down into Rome. It's a holidaymaker's dream, but it's a Guangzhou Charge nightmare. Shanghai Dragons get it done in 4 yet again.
Heroes can. Heroes can do it.
They can.
Shanghai Dragons, the 4-map team. And there it is. It is also their 100th match win overall as a franchise. They'll also be joining, I believe, 2 other teams that have been able to do that. It's not been a lot of teams that have managed to get 100 match wins. You have Shock 139, Infernal on 112, that also includes their time as the Fusion, Glads on 108, and now the Shanghai Dragons finally themselves sitting at 100. There's 2 more teams at 99 as well. Excelsior on 99, Dynasty at 99, Fuel on 97, so we should get a couple more teams, maybe a few more teams this season reaching 100 franchise wins. But officially Shanghai Dragons, they like to win series in 4 maps. They'll be the 4th team to reach 100 as well.
It's all about the 4s, and it's all about the heals. Iris is going to be your player of the match. Well deserved. A stalwart backline. a mental fortress to make sure that there was always the healing that was required to keep Fate in the game.
Also,
having that consistent front line.
I lied. Dynasty got their 100 today, so actually Shanghai's the 5th team to get 100.
No, my full motif.
Dynasty got their the 100th just a little bit earlier on. So now we have 5 teams that have reached 100.
Yeah,
Eris, go on.
How many of them got 0 wins in the first year? Like, the catch-up the Shanghai Dragons have played is phenomenal, too.
Yeah, they had to get all 100 in the following 5 years. They're basically as far as getting wins, they're basically like an expansion team.
Yeah.
And all the other teams that have 100 wins, Shock, Infernal Glads, Infernal Fusion, that is, they're all original 12 from 2018.
That's just one of the reasons why Shanghai Dragons do it best. And Eris does it even better than that.
All the teams, all 7 teams I named are original year 1 teams.
Wow.
Shanghai obviously had no wins in year 1, so they might as well have been an expansion team. Anyway, yeah, we're talking about Eris a little bit here. Really well performing. Had a lot of sleep darts today that I thought were very impactful. Good names from long range. I'm sure we'll see it all in the highlights package here. Super low deaths as well. First map only died 1 time, whole map.
Yeah, of course, you expect to have a few lesser deaths as an Ana. Obviously, on the first map, it was incredibly impressive against a double flanker, but with the reticence about playing Sombra coming through from Guangzhou Charge, and that's not something I fault them for. We both thought that they needed something a little bit different to try and get one over on the Shanghai Dragons, but without those EMPs constantly trying to farm the Ana, plenty of flexibility
over and over
to try and work with.
Jimmy, you'd be taking sleeping pills today. Eris just continually netting those. Had some good moments. And we noted that Farway kind of struggled on map 1, right? That was probably quite a big difference.
Yeah.
But the Guangzhou and Eris backline seems solid. I mean, primarily we talk about the fact that it's in the Sombra Tracer mirrors. Yeah, okay, things got a little bit wacky on Dorado. I think that was just a strange situation for the Shanghai Dragons to find themselves in. Of course, another sleep on a Jimmy. He killed himself with his own pulster, actually. That's been rough for Jimmy's Tracer versus Eris. He's just been copping those sleeps.
Yeah. Does half the damage, and Eris gets the finishing blow. Gotta pad those stats, you know. Eris is just one of these omnipotent Anas who appears to always have a good idea what's going on, just clued into the comms, taking the pill there, just stare into the matrix.
This was sick.
A big sleep.
He actually baited the deflect. So both in this matchup, it's a full skill-based matchup. And we saw this from Jinmu's POV originally, but we didn't get to see it from Eris's. In Jinmu's POV, he went for 1 slash and instantly the deflect, expecting the sleep to come through, and Eris baited it and he waited. So it's a full game of chicken. Is it gonna be sleep first or the deflect first? And Eris, he wins the game of chicken there.
Absolute alpha male behavior. We should have our alpha male translator unknown ready soon for a Shanghai Dragons interview. Of course, they're likely busy at their compound celebrating their 100th franchise win. I'm sure Flood has brought out a big cake or something similar. And of course, everyone's replacing Jesus' peripherals one by one as they tend to just continue breaking down. Shanghai Dragons, I think that it's fair to say that the return of Fate, the rehiring of Fate has been a strong turning of a corner for the Shanghai Dragons. And Fate gets to come back in with the glories. Like, hey, did you miss me? Shanghai Dragons fans definitely did.
Very necessary, I think. It's not been the same since, so, and for a good reason. And now the Shanghai Dragons find themselves at, I believe, what is this now? Are they 3-3? Let me just double check the scoreline. Yeah, they're 3-3 now. Tied equal with Dreamers. Their map differential suffers by 1 though, so that is you gotta get 1 more map to get that, and 1 match away from reaching Seoul Dynasty. Let's go ahead and check out what we have to say in the interview.
안녕하세요, 희수 선수.
안녕하세요.
네,
Hi, Hisu.
상하이 드래곤즈 통산 100승 달성 축하드리고요. 희수 선수 승리 소감도 부탁드릴게요.
100 wins as a franchise. How do you feel?
100승 달성한 거 축하하고 그리고 오늘 이겨서 정말 기분이 좋네요.
어제 경기 하시고
I mean,
나서
I definitely feel good as a franchise, as part of a franchise of the 100 wins, and it just feels great.
일단 어제 같은 경우는
You must have been disappointed yesterday. What were the vibes like?
생각도 하지 않았고 경기하면서도 긴장도 하긴 했지만
I think it was just a matter of just keeping our calm. We did get a little bit nervous yesterday, but we knew that we were going to be the better team, and yeah, that we just executed.
많이 피드백을 했던 것 같아요.
And just to add on to that, we did have a lot of feedback on yesterday's and also the matches in the past. So that's how the improvement came.
매콤한 회초리 타임 있고 나서 각성을 했다라고 말씀을 해주신 적이 있어요. 그렇다면 저희가 궁금해지는 건 플레타 코치님의 피드백은 어떤 맛인가요?
Last time you mentioned head coach Moon's fierce and cutthroat feedback. How's Fleta's coaching style like?
밍밍한 그러니까 라면인데 좀
So I mean,
밍밍한
if
느낌이라
Moon's
매운맛이
feedback is a
있는데
little bit cutthroat,
진솔이
Fleta
먹는
is kind of like
사람이잖아요.
the kind
네.
coach,
근데
like the
진솔이도
good
맛있어서
coach,
먹는
good
거니까
cop, if you may say.
약간 그런
He's kind of
느낌이
like
난다.
trying to have you
맛있는데
understand
밍밍한
rather than hey, you gotta do this, rather but rather hey, this is a little bit better than that. A little bit of, I guess, a different tone.
좋아요.
네.
But I like both.
네,
I
근데
like both
경선이 형
styles.
좀 말투가 선해가지고 너무 착해서 네.
뭔가 전체적으로
But just to
분위기가
add as a
굉장히 좋은가
comment,
봐요.
Fleta's a
네,
really good
저희가
guy,
이런
and it
분위기가
shows in how he
좋아서.
speaks. So I think he's a good coach.
그렇습니다. 오늘 정말 축하드릴 일이 많은 게요. 상하이 오늘 쟁탈맵 첫 승리를 하셨어요. 부산에서. 혹시 쟁탈맵을 조금 신경을 써서
Another thing to
준비를
congratulate
해오신
the
건가요?
Dragons about, this is your first control win in 2023. Did you kind of like make any special preparations for this?
hin지가 좀 됐는데 드디어 첫 승을 하게 된 거에 대해서 정말 그렇게 생각하긴 하는데 어제 일 끝나고
Like, to be honest, it's more of a, to me, personally, it's more of a relief because I don't think we did anything particularly wrong on control. Maybe it was just a
걸린 게 있어서
mental thing.
열심히 하신 것
But
같습니다.
yeah, it's
다음 주
relieving, but at the same
인터넷
time,
날과의 매치가 있습니다.
I'm kind of frustrated that it took so long to get our
상하이가
first win in control.
점점 성장하는 모습을 보여주기 때문에 정말 기대해 볼 만한데 어떠신가요?
So, can we expect
진짜
even better
기대하셔도
Dragons
좋고,
coming in the
저희가
future?
솔직히 대회할 때는 다들 긴장해서 그런지 스크림에 10%도 안 나오는 느낌인데
I think what we
진짜
show
다음
on
주에는
stage,
저희가
like on the
보완해서
actual match day,
좋은
is
경기력
less
볼수
than
있도록
10% of our actual power
잘해야
level during practice games and
네,
scrims.
방찬 각오 아주
So
좋습니다.
if we can
마지막으로
kind of
그렇다면 우리
lift
상하이
the,
팬분들께 이수 선수가 한마디
I guess,
해주시죠.
anxiousness out of our game, I think we'll be even a better team.
저번 토너 때는 많이 지고 우여곡절도 많았는데 그래도 꿋꿋이 저희를 응원해 주시는
So, any last
분들을
message to our fans?
위해서라도
So I mean, we've been struggling, and we know it. You know it. You still support us to the bitter end. So we'll definitely repay that with some performances that is actually worth all your support, and we'll definitely kind of pluck out our mistakes and be a better team. And we will also show us with our good performances.
날아오르시기 바랍니다. 상하이 드래곤즈 축하드립니다.
Okay, congratulations,
네,
and that is the
지금까지
end of the
상하이
interview.
드래곤즈의
Back to
인터뷰
you, Kevin.
나눠봤습니다.
That was interesting in terms of the fact that, I mean, it's not uncommon for teams of the fact that he was saying that they have yet to show, I think, even 10% of the power that they can display elsewhere, maybe in scrims. Really shows the potential of the team and how much further they can get. But a solid win today, nonetheless. Got kind of caught in the Chengdu zone on map 3, but otherwise really clear cut across the board.
Yeah, had to happen in 4. Shanghai Dragons have plenty of time to show off their power, though, next week. They're going to be going up against both the Soul Infernal and O2 Blast, which means that they can probably very heavily weight their prep towards Soul Infernal, with O2 Blast currently languishing at -12 in map score after having their roster picked apart for the second time this year.
I'll tell you what, though, I mean, O2 Blast, they did beat Seoul Dynasty, and you wouldn't want to be the second team to lose to O2 Blast that way. Profit on O2 Blast can do a decent job sniping. I mean, what we remember of Jimmy playing Hanzo in Stage 1 on Spring Stage has mostly been infused into Profit on O2 Blast, and he is sniping like, I don't know, like no one's business really on that Hanzo. So, some winnable games there. Soul Infernal might be less winnable, but I think a really good Dragons might be able to push them. We'll be able to do a lot of damage to the Soul Infernal, who are still, in some ways, maybe reeling from their loss to the Dallas Fuel, who currently sit on the top alone. Perfect scoreline, only having dropped one map. Dallas are the team to beat. But they're not going to be playing on day 1 next week. Day 1 next week, as you mentioned, got the Dragons Infernal game, but also Panthera Pokerface, Charge and Dynasty.
Yeah, Charge and Dynasty in particular, one we want to keep an eye on. If we can only get The Chengdu Zone Guangzhou Charge. Map 3 Guangzhou Charge. From map 1 onwards, obviously it's quite map set dependent. I would love to have seen Charge in like in a loser picks meta where they could potentially go to these wacky maps where they can make the most of their hero picks. I don't know how much backroom staff Charge has, so maybe it might be in their interest to just play a little bit more towards the players' tastes rather than try and iterate on what is a fairly weak meta for them without that oversight from a centralized figure like a Moon or a Krusty.
That's going to be a player-led team now, but we saw some, I think, promise out of the Charge here. Some potential that they can come back in the season slightly. I mean, they got games left to play through. They're 1-5 right now, which is not the best record. It's obviously been a struggle for Charge in the second half of the year, but you know, Dynasty are, I think, a beatable team for them. It should be a possible win. Next week they also have Dreamers. Beyond that, Charge. No, those are the last 2 games for Charge.
Yeah.
Before we head into knockouts, so they got to be able to, you know, do as best as they can there. Hope to get a better seed, and then hope for the best in knockouts. Bit of time. There's also going to be a pretty major patch, I believe, before the knockouts. So you know, any number of wacky things can happen. I mean, we talk about ending the season on crazy patches. I think we got one more coming. I got one more in me, says the Overwatch League.
It wouldn't be Overwatch League if there wasn't a major patch before playoffs, which just changed everything by far. But we're gonna have to close out APAC Full Save. There's still North America to come, so make sure that you stick around for that in about 4 or 5 hours time. For now, though, this is Leg Day and Avril signing off. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next week.